Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's dive. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner pub to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more.
Boom! We are live on a beautiful Thirsty Thursday. I am your sexy host, Rob Valincius, and I have the pleasure of having with me another sexy podcast. Well, he's a podcaster, but also a comic book writer. Cory de la Guardia. Welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. When you said sexy, I got nervous that there was another guest, but no, you meant us. You meant us. I'm excited.
Look at oh shit! All right, cool.
Okay, all right.
I got to tell you, that might be the longest time I've had a pre-discussion into a podcast, because typically it's like we go in. But if that was any guess on the fact that we could riff for 12 minutes about nothing, we're great podcasters.
Oh,
is how I look at it.
If you listen to my show, Shameless Plug Nerd Thug Radio, we do 30 minutes about nothing all the time. We literally, I start almost every episode with me and my little brother, and I start almost every episode with, hey, what's going on this week? And he'll tell me something he's done, and then it'll be 40 minutes into the show before we even do a topic.
I had another show. We're on a hiatus, but we're actually rebranding with a buddy of mine who I interviewed, and we became really good friends. And he asked me to be a co-host on his show.
Nice.
And it was kind of my way of letting my hair down. So like, my show's fun. I talk about a lot of weird stuff, and we get into it, and it's fun, but it's more formal, you know? Whereas with that show, it was just me. It was like two guys talking about whatever the fuck they want, and there'd be a random dick somewhere. Like, he would just be like, oh, have you seen this? And I'm seeing what? And he'd just bring a dick up. I'm like, what the fuck is this? He goes, have you ever heard of docking? And I'm like, why are we talking about this right now? Like, yes, I heard of docking, but why? You know, like
this is.
And then he would explain it. And
no, I don't want to.
Shout out Burley. I know you're probably listening to this, but I found him for the Reddit group, and he became good friends. And we actually had another podcast. It was a whole thing. We had a whole group podcast of people. That was fun too. And yeah, the podcasting is weird, right? I mean, it's such a networking thing. And I try to tell people all the time that you never know who you're going to run into and just click with.
Yeah. For a long time, I had a really solid relationship, and it kind of came out of nowhere. So when we started, it was me, my cousin, and my little brother. And my cousin was just he would just network all the time. Just anybody, he'd be like, well, I got a show, you should come on it. And he would do that all the time. And it got to the point, like, people would offer us stuff where he would text me, and I would be like, do they know that we're nobody? Like why are they offering? We went to, for like the first year we existed, we had only been doing like, maybe we'd only 15, 20 shows in, and we were getting invited to like do conventions as like their local media and stuff. And I was like, they're going to give us a hotel room to go to Louisiana. Do they know that like we're nobody? And he's like, I just asked. Oh, okay. Yeah. Podcasting will take you in some weird places if you just ask. But I've also been that guy who's like, I tell my little brother all the time, if you just walk confidently and act like you're supposed to be there, almost nobody will ever question what you're doing in life. And I think that podcasting is sort of like the digital equivalent of that. Like, how you carry yourself is how far they're going to let you go. There's people all over there's people now who are TikTokers who now are like correspondents on news networks now. And you're like, I think I just watched a 30-second video of that guy eating an apple pie. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, that one guy that does, is it daily something, with the like blonde hair? Have you seen him on TikTok?
Yeah.
What the fuck's his name? He's like, he was at the White House. Yeah. He's a TikTok. He's literally a TikToker.
These guys, like, they're popping up everywhere because, like, if you just act like you're supposed to be there, I guess no one's checking credentials anywhere anymore. And so podcasting is...
Especially probably not the White House.
Especially probably not the White House. Yeah, okay, cool. No problem. You're going to see their...
You're like me?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. It's fun, though. It's fun because, you know, you get to talk to people from all over the world and all over the country, and you get to see some interesting things.
Yeah, like, okay, so where I was going with that was we became friends with Booker T's wrestling school. And like when I say friends with
Oh, nice.
like several of the wrestlers were on the shows. You go back to the very early episodes, probably like 10 different times. There's one of the wrestlers is on there. A couple of them came on twice. And now some of them are kind of rising the ranks. Two of the guys are on AEW and they're doing great. One of them was her name on the WWE was Ember Moon. When we went to meet with Booker T, WWE had given her to him to train up. So like when we met her, she already knew she was going to be back in the WWE at some point, but she was like learning the wrestling ropes. Like there's a lot of people like that, but so it was so crazy because we're just these local guys here in Houston doing our thing, and Booker T's like, "Yeah, come on down, come check us out." And so we go. By the way, that guy, I didn't know you could do this, but like from all the WWE events, that guy has kept every poster with his face on it that he can find. And the arena, he bought some space, or he's renting it maybe, in a gym towards Galveston. I think it's Channelview. And he's got this whole place set up for like his wrestling group now, but he's got giant banners that were hanging. They had to have been like on the side of the wall outside of the stadium, 20-foot tall banners of him that are now just hanging inside his wrestling group. So like,
I mean, that's pretty cool. And look, if I had the money,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if I'd be putting myself up there, but if I was in wrestling, I'd probably be in a much better shape than I am now.
Yeah, so like it's one of the events where he was king of the ring or something, so he's sitting on a throne and he's got the crown. So it's this 20-foot picture of him sitting on a throne wearing a crown with like hot chicks all around him. And then now that's just hanging up in like the middle of his wrestling group. And
that's awesome.
The first time we went, I was like, it's both so egotistical, but also such a bold move that you have to love it. Like I was sitting there staring at it probably halfway through the event. I was like, I know I'm 3 beers in, but I'm still not mad that he's doing that. Like
you gotta respect it. You gotta respect
it. Put a 20-foot banner with you on it. Put it everywhere you go. Turn it.
I'm gonna buy it.
Slap it on a ball.
Buy my own fucking arena, and there it is. You know, his dick's probably bigger than fucking just a regular person standing there. Anyway,
he's a trip if you ever talk to him. He's a cool guy. I will say that our relationship ended when he stood us up for a meeting. Though. So now I tell everyone that I'm scheduled to have a duel with him at some point in the future. I'm waiting for him to
be like the Family Guy and the chicken.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just on sight. But I have to wait for him to not see me coming because he will kill me.
Yeah. He's got to be a big dude. He's got to be.
Booker T is not a small guy, and he's probably got to be 60, 65 at this point, and he still looks like he would murder me with one hand.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. But that's cool, man. That's a cool story. Whether your podcast works out or not.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be a pretty cool story to tell people. Like, hey, I met fucking Booker T stood me up, you know?
There's so many funny, like, there are a ton of those. And I say that just to say to anybody watching, like, if you're going to do a podcast, just do it. We've gotten to speak at so many places. Like, we speak, Comic Palooza is the biggest comic show in at least for sure Texas. We've spoken at that now like 6 years in a row. They invite us every year to host panels on that. It's probably more familiarity now. We're like the first guy on their list, but it definitely started because again, my cousin was he's a crazy person and was like, "Oh, we're a podcast. You should have us." And they were like, "Okay."
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No one else has. Yeah. Sure.
And at the time when he told me that, I was like, "Why do you keep doing this?" But we keep going places. So yeah, it worked. It worked great.
I mean, you're right though. It's like the same concept in life, right?
Yeah.
Like think of the 21-year-old that goes into the liquor store, right? Now, I'm from Philadelphia, so we still have liquor stores. I forget if Texas has
does.
liquor stores.
They're not open on Sunday because of Jesus, but we got them.
Yep. Okay. We actually ours are open on Sunday, which is weird because we're a Quaker state and they have the weirdest fucking rules for shit.
That is weird.
Dude, we just got maybe within the past 10 years is when our grocery stores were allowed to sell like beer and wine.
Really? So wait, where did
within the past 10 years?
Where did y'all go? So could you get like 6 packs of beer at a gas station?
Nope. You had to go to either a beer distributor, or if you wanted wine, you'd have to go to the fine wine and good spirits.
So wait, so like a beer distributor? You mean like did Bud Light have like pop-up stores in Philadelphia?
No, there'd just be these stores that all they did was sell beer. That's all. That was just their primary, and they still have plenty of beer distributors. That's all they do is sell beer. That's like stacks upon stacks.
Like I would totally have that store in Texas, but we don't need it because we can buy beer anywhere. Like,
we still can't buy beer at fucking grocery stores. I mean, that's not necessarily true. Wawa, which is have you heard of Wawa?
It's a chain. I know that.
Wawa is like big on the East Coast. It started in Wawa, Pennsylvania. That's our Sheets.
Okay.
I forget what's big. You're not. What's the one with the chipmunk?
That's
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is a gas station though.
Well, Wawa is most Wawas now are gas stations.
Okay.
They're ginormous. There is some small that's more convenience style, but for the most part, any new Wawa is a gas station. So they're pretty big, but that's like our Buc-ee's or like, that's like what we're
right next door in Louisiana to us, they can sell liquor anywhere. So our gas stations can sell beer and wine, but they can't sell liquor. And then you can't sell beer, wine, or liquor before like noon on Sunday, and then you can't sell liquor at all on Sunday. And then if you cross right over into Louisiana, there's a gas station right on the other side of the border, and behind the counter is $1 million worth of liquor. Like, they're just like, yeah, you want to buy some of this? We got it. Tiny bottles, big bottles, jugs, you can buy it right from the Chevron, or Exxon or whoever, like whatever the gas station is. Whereas on our side of the border, liquor is only in liquor stores, and then beer and wine is everywhere-ish.
Yeah, I tell this. I think I've told this story on this podcast before. You kind of lose track, but I travel sometimes for work, and I'll never forget. This was 6, 7, 8 years ago. I was down in Mississippi, and we did 2 meetings: Jackson, Mississippi, and I was in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hate Jackson, Mississippi. It was not fun.
Not a lot there. Not a lot there.
Not a lot there. But so it was me and 2 other coworkers, and we go into this restaurant, and it was weird to begin with because they were like obsessed with peanuts, and there was just like peanuts like everywhere.
Yes,
and people
I know exactly where you were at. Well, actually, there's a bunch of restaurants who do it, but it was a steakhouse, wasn't it?
I think it was a steakhouse. Yeah,
I know exactly where it was. Were the rolls particularly delicious?
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly where you were.
Okay, so we go in. There's peanuts fucking all
Everywhere.
over the floor and shit. You're like,
on the ground.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is this? So we eat, and I like to, especially when I have a hotel room to myself, I like to get a 6-pack, bring it back to the room. I'm a gamer, so I have a gaming laptop with me.
Nice.
It's always when I get to the room, I hang my stuff, set up my laptop, and it's ready to go. So I just wanted to get a 6-pack when we go back to the room, I could have a couple beers, play some games.
I don't know if they do beer in gas stations, though.
They do, apparently, because these people, one, were dumb as shit. But they were also very confused when I asked them. I went up to the bartender and said, hey, I'm looking for like a 6-pack to go. I see 6-packs back there in your fridge. Can I buy one of those? And she's like, no, honey, you want a to-go cup? And I'm like, no. Those 6-packs back there, I want to...
Yeah, they're not going to tell you that. No, yeah.
I want to buy a 6-pack of that. And she's like, oh, no, honey. Hold on. Let me talk to the manager.
Nope.
She goes back. She goes, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I guess I'm just weirded out because, like, here, a lot of times, especially some bars, you can just buy a 6-pack. It depends on if they have it.
Yeah.
So I'm walking out to finish the store. I'm walking out. She comes sprinting outside. Like the building was on fire, or that I forgot to pay or something. And she's like, honey, if you want to get the beer, you got to go to the gas station, and you could buy beer there. And I'm like, how the fuck does that make sense? To buy beer while I'm driving at a gas station. But I can't buy it at the restaurant.
Oh, about while you're driving. In Texas, we have daiquiri drive-through stores. So they make frozen daiquiris, and they tape the straw down, so that way you don't drink it. And then they sell you the frozen daiquiri. Not making that up, there's 3 within 20 minutes of my house.
I mean, probably delicious.
Yeah, they're great. They're best while driving.
Hey, look, we've all had road sodas, okay? We've all had it. People listening, I'm sure you've had a fucking road soda. You can relax.
So I will defend
said
steakhouse and let you know that in the South, the alcohol prohibition police, they're called different things in different states. They have very particular rules about who can sell what. And the restaurants and bars are not allowed to sell drinks that you would consume off premises. Because in the South, we hold the bartenders legally responsible for the outcome of your drinking.
Interesting.
I was TABC certified, Texas Alcohol Beverage Control. I was TABC certified to work at a bar when I was in college, and you gotta keep track of people. And so, like, it's the bartender's job to cut you off and all that. So yeah, they're not going to sell you the 6-pack to go, because if you slam it in the car and then kill someone, they're going to come back to the steakhouse and ask some questions.
Wow. I did not. I mean, I feel like that's like that here. Maybe the bartender isn't liable. Maybe it's the bar itself.
So here it's both. The bar will get a fine,
Okay.
but the bartender will lose their license, and potentially, depending on how awful it is, and if the DA is trying to get some cred, they might put that person in jail.
So what you're telling me is you guys don't have a ton of bartenders waiting around to get jobs. I would not be a bartender.
No, it's still a great gig, because bartenders in the South are royalty as far as service industry, because once they cut you off, your night is ruined. And then they'll have the bouncers toss you, and most not below chain bars, so like dive bars and down. Texas, the idea of like the Roadhouse type bar where the bouncer is there to beat the crap out of you when you cause problems, that's a very real thing in like the South. They will hire guys who look like trouble to be the door guy, and they don't run their background on purpose. And they're just like, yeah, when we call you over here and we point at this guy, he leaves or you make him. And they're like, okay. And so you learn very quickly in the South, when the bartender says you're done, you don't cause any problems, you pay your tab and you chill out, or trouble. And the bar I worked at was known for this. It was so bad that the owner started hiring the police to work the bar on like Tuesday nights. Like, not weekends when there's 200 people in the bar and it's hard to control. Tuesday when there's 40 people in the bar, the cops were there to arrest the people before the bouncers would get a hold of them.
I mean, that had to be fun to witness,
it was
at least.
It was one of the. I wound up living with two of the bartenders. The three of us were roommates for like a year and a half. The stories are incredible. The debauchery was insane. The liver like physically hurt when I moved out of that house.
I mean, at least it kind of repairs itself.
Oh yeah, yeah. It stopped hurting very
now.
soon after I moved out, and I stopped just slamming beer nonstop like it was going out of style. But there was definitely a year and a half where we partied like rock stars, and there was no business for it except that, again, bartenders are kind of known everywhere. So like when you go to a bar, you meet the bartender, you get their name, you make sure you know them, because when it's busy, they're gonna get you your drinks faster. And then when they go out to the other bars, the bartenders reciprocate. So we would go places and just like be taken care of because both of my buddies were bartenders.
We would do that too when we were younger. Like I didn't learn at like 21 or 22. Like a dollar tip or what. Like I didn't learn, but like as I aged, so when I hit like 25, 26, when I was going out to drink, your first tip is 10, 15 bucks. And then no matter what,
after that,
they're always going to serve you first, and you're always going to get a fucking, and they're going to know you. Like we became friends with some bartenders just because we weren't douchebags. We weren't assholes to them. Yeah. We were nice and we tipped well, and we always got hooked up.
For me, what got me in was the first time I went, there was some kind of dust up, and I helped out. And so as we're all standing back outside, it's the cops, the people who work at the bar, and me. We just got rid of these guys, and they're looking at me and they're like, "What do you work here?" And I was like, "Nah, I was trying to order a Bud Light, and that guy was being a dick." They were like, "You're cool, come with us." And that was kind of like I was in after that. I was
just That's awesome. Yeah, I learned something new today about the South that I didn't know, which is fun. But look, this podcast is about you, brother. So, let's start with, talk to me a little bit about growing up. Were you always a nerd? Was there a point? Like, I feel like us nerds, I've been a nerd my whole life. I hit it because it wasn't cool when we were in high school. When I was in high school. How old are you?
I am 42. It wasn't
all right.
Cool.
So we're the same. We're the same. I'll be 40. I'm 39. So when we were in high school, it wasn't cool really to be a nerd.
No, there was a weird thing about me. I've just always had this. I don't know a better way to explain it than to sound like an egotistical person. I've always had a vibe about me where like I didn't really give a fuck. Like you weren't gonna bother me, so I always just did what I liked and did what I enjoyed. So I probably had like 100 comic book shirts by the time I was a senior in high school. There was no doubt that Cory was the comic book guy, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I didn't deal with any like I you know, in the last 20 years, I've bumped into all kinds of people I've gone to high school with. And, you know, there's a good third of them who are like, I'm so glad high school's over. I never, you know, I hated it and blah, blah, blah. And there's the other
Yeah.
third who's like, oh, yeah, it was the best time ever. I neither hated it nor loved it. It was just, we were just there doing the time, right? Almost like a happy prison. Like we were just there until we didn't have to be there anymore.
Yeah.
But it didn't affect me in a negative way. People were never crappy about it. But like, yeah, I was a nerd and it wasn't cool. Like, I don't think anybody else could have pulled it off because I don't remember anyone else doing it. But like, dude, I would do my projects on comic book shit, but I would bring it. Like, oh, we're gonna talk about comic books. I'm gonna get a bunch of Jim Lee art, put it up on the board. Like, I'm gonna show you why comic books are cool. I'm not gonna just show you like, oh, I love these. These are the best because I say so.
Batman's great.
Yeah, Batman's great. He
Yeah.
always kills Superman. And like, so like, I would just show cool shit that would happen in comic books, and sometimes people would be like, yeah, that's not so bad. Okay, yeah, I get it. And then other times people will be like, I'm gonna get a Spider-Man tattoo later, and I was like, you don't have to tell me. Like, you tell everyone else because I don't care. Like,
Some guy was like, you know what? I'm gonna kick Cory's ass after class. And then he saw your presentation. He's like, maybe I'm not gonna kick his ass after
doesn't do
class.
I do remember there was
He's
one-
actually kind of cool.
there was one guy who hated me, but he dropped out after our junior year of high school for like personal stuff. And what I remember learning from that at the time was like, it was such like a back to school special, after school special. Like it was such like a wah wah wah. Where I was like,
Yeah.
turns out he had problems. Like
It wasn't me.
Yeah,
It was
he
him.
had problems. Oh, okay. But yeah, like he was always like, anytime I would see that, he was the one person I would see that dude in the hallway, and he'd be like, "I'm gonna kill you after lunch," and I was like, "I don't even have class
Right.
with you. Like, are you gonna find me? Like, I don't understand how this logistically. How are we gonna get this murdered?"
How does this work?
Yeah. And
You
it would
know?
never happen. We never fought. We never even we were never even in the same place at the same time. He just knew in his head that he hated me for no reason. And then one day he was just gone. And I started asking around. I was like, "Hey, whatever happened to so and so?" Because he was supposed to murder me like a year ago. And they were like, "Yeah,
I'm still waiting.
he dropped out." And I was like, "Oh, okay,
Win-win.
yeah." So like, no, I don't know. Like, I never had the problem, but it wasn't cool. But I definitely like the X-Men cartoon came out when I was like 9. Here's how I got into comic books originally was I had an older cousin who had leukemia, and he couldn't leukemia when you go through the process, the chemo and all that. Sometimes you develop dyslexia and things like that. So he had a really hard time catching up academically after he got better, because he had all these reading disabilities and all these. Well, actually, there's other stuff wrong with him later in life, but he had brain issues originally because of the chemo stuff. They call it chemo brain and things like that. There's a process you have to go through. It takes time to get over all that.
Okay.
So they got him to start reading and learning to read and getting into reading with comic books. And so as I grew up, comic books were everywhere around like my grandma's house, my aunt's house. He started bringing them everywhere, so then they're at my house. And we couldn't have known it at the time, but it was like the golden era of comic books too. So these comic books he's bringing around, without getting too far into the weeds of it, Image Comics gets founded by guys like Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, and it's a huge deal. These are the best artists in comic books. Well, before they founded Image Comic Books, they were working for Marvel and DC. The comic books they were making were X-Men, Spider-Man, and they were working on some stuff in DC. Well, those were the books that my cousin was getting. And so the house is littered with like these instant classics that catapulted these artists into stardom. And so like we didn't know it at the time, but these were the best comic books that you could ever be reading. And these were our first comic books ever. So growing up,
Wow.
I'm reading just masterpieces in the comic book world and being like, comic books are great. Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And I never got out of it. Now, as I got older, I started to realize that, like, and it's always a dark thought to have this, so careful, kids. Like, that was the best moment ever. Like, when you're in your when you're in your heyday, when you're in, like, this will be the happiest I'll ever be kind of moments, it's scary to think about that later and be like, oh, that was the best I'll ever have it. As far as comic books go, it was right then. It was that little 88 to 93 kind of moment when those guys were doing the X-Men and they were doing all these other big books, the Avengers and Spider-Man and all that other stuff. Then they go do their own stuff, and then there's kind of this big reset in comic books. But yeah, for like what's now kind of looked at as this big moment, I was happy to be right there at it, nerding out. And so yeah, comic books are the thing for me, dude.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I gotta tell you, I didn't get into comic books.
Interview over.
Well, I did, but
right.
I'm not. I'm out of it now. But I'd love to be back in it. But here's my story. So, I was an assistant manager for GameStop at the time.
Nice.
I worked in.
I always think those guys have it pretty sweet.
This was back in the day. So this was when GameStop was like annoying because it was like all about sales, but it was like vintage. Like it's not like it is now where it's you walk in and
they sell everything.
There's T-shirts and
Funko Pops,
trading cards and Funko Pops and all. Like it's not like that. It was just games and game accessories. That's where it was. And I worked in King of Prussia Mall, which is the second largest mall in America. So it's like, you know, I grew up in that area, and my manager at the time was really into comic books, like super into it, and also into like computer gaming, and I've dabbled because I got into World of Warcraft when it first came out. Fucking so good, you know, the original, right? But it was also like the hardest fucking thing on the planet, you know.
It's funny you have to say the original because I know that they like nerf it later and then it's no longer the cool thing. But like the original first like 6 years of World of Warcraft is what all World of Warcraft gamers like swear by.
So good. But let me ask you something. Can you hear my fan in the background?
No.
All right, because my mic is doing this, and I'm like, you know what? I swear to fucking God, my fan's been going this whole time. But listen, so my manager at the time was huge into comics, and I'm already a nerd. I'm working at a video game store, which was a lot of fun back then.
Yeah.
And he says to me, you know, do you read comics? I'm like, nope. And he goes, all right, I'm gonna give you a personal. I don't know if he loaned it to me or there was actually a comic book store in the mall, which was very convenient.
I mean, the best time for malls.
It was prime time mall. Prime time. Like this was back when I would literally just go to the mall to just hang out. Like me and some buddies would go to the mall. We would hang out. We'd get drunk at the mall and we'd stare at girls. That's what we did. Dude, and then we tried to talk to girls thinking we were cool.
Because they had
we weren't.
Theater, they had the gaming. They had the bookstore. They had the comic book store. They had the pet store. They had the fake Chinese
everything was there.
They had all of it, bro.
It was beautiful.
Oh.
Two side, two meat, $4.95.
That's right.
That was my favorite meal. But so he told me, he said, "Listen, I'm gonna give you a series, and I want you to read it, and I bet you get hooked." So the first real comic book series that I read was Y: The Last Man.
Beautiful, beautiful comic book. I love it.
I don't know if I necessarily agreed with the end. I think looking back, I agree more with it now than I did when I first read it. But I'm one of those people. It's hard to appease me to end a series, especially one that I liked.
Yeah.
So, but I started there and I really got into it. It was very enjoyable. And obviously Walking Dead was another one he told me to read. And the Walking Dead comics were really, really good because you never knew Kirkman. I mean, you would just be turning a page and then the main character's dead. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah,
and you go back 2 pages.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and, but that's what I started with. And that started to branch me out. And the comic book store, those guys knew me, right? So I would go in, they would save me the newest issues of series that I wanted. And then also I'm like, hey, anything new come out? Like internet was there, but like, I couldn't just like go read the whole thing online or whatever. And I say, hey man, any new series come out? Wolfman, Kirkman did it. He did Walking Dead, was actually really good. And there's like certain ones, and I would just really get heavily into those.
Yeah.
I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah,
so I got into
that was when
Star Wars
came
comics.
Back to comic books. Dark Horse Comics did really cool Star Wars stuff back then. Now,
I will say this: my favorite era in Star Wars was Knights of the Old Republic. So
yeah, that's when
they had
like,
a series.
All the Jedi are doing cool shit. Is Knights of the Old Republic, because by the time you get to all the movies, there's no Jedis left in every like. They're like, well, there's 12 of us and we never talk, and you're never going to see the other 11, so fuck you. And you're like,
and And the Mandalorians are really cool, and they're like a century point into in Knights of the Old Republic, and I think the story was just really, really good, and they could do whatever they wanted because
Yeah,
it wasn't really
it didn't have any
connected.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of where I started. And dude, I have 3 giant boxes of comics in my closet that, I collected throughout the years. I was big into Marvel Zombies.
Yeah,
I
that was
love
a
the
fun
Marvel
one.
Zombie series.
I loved that one because the characters still had some sort of weird element of themselves, and it's the first time the zombies are walking around talking, and like it's weird to see Mr. Fantastic be like, that lady was delicious, bring me 3 more of her, and you're like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Like why is he doing
When Doctor Doom is the fucking hero,
Yeah.
it's gonna be good.
Dr. Doom and Magneto was walking around saving humans because he was keeping them at bay for like one of the whole series, and I was like, of all the people, Magneto. Yeah, it's there's certain moments that kind of really capture this stuff. Kirkman's great because he's sort of comic books were man. So here's the one problem with comic books is they live in a bubble called the direct market. There was a time when I was a kid where you could get comic books anywhere. Target, the corner store, they would print the little barcodes on the front of the comic book and they would sell them everywhere. They stopped doing that around 97, 98 for bankruptcy stuff and all kinds of things. Marvel bought a distributor, and then Marvel ran out of money, so they had to use themselves as a distributor, and then they weren't shipping everywhere. And then that distribution company kind of took over distributing everybody and broke away from Marvel ownership. And like, so now that there's, for the last 30-ish years, there's just been this thing called the direct market, where literally comic book stores are basically the only people who stock comic books. And so because of that, it's kind of a really small little community of people who read comic books now. Because you got to find somebody who has that passport and invites you in, because people don't know where to find them anymore because they're not everywhere, which drives me batshit crazy. Because I can't imagine any other product on the planet that you would make and then by design not want to sell to everybody. And because
Walmart, like the big guy, like everywhere, there should be like a comic book aisle in some.
There used to be that little aisle at Targets right before all the registers, where now it's all Pokemon cards. That used to be comic books and baseball cards, and then one day it was just baseball cards. And it's not because Target quit on comic books; it's because comic books quit on Target, and that is crazy. And the direct market is basically just the publisher orders just enough comic books to sell to the stores. That's it. So where Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, X-Men #1 in 1999, 1999, maybe 98, that comic book did, I think, 5 or 10 million copies.
Wow.
Now a #1 comic book might do 120,000. And that's because now they're just shipping to the 300 comic book stores that are in America. They're no longer shipping to the spinner racks at a Dollar Tree or where, like, and you might sometimes see comic books in the wild now. I say in the wild, like actually in non-comic book places, but it's an accident.
Yeah.
It's not on purpose. It just blows my mind that this is where the industry fell in hard times because of terrible money management. There's an interesting book, I forget the title of it, that talks about how Marvel basically, they went public, they got all this cash, then they took out all these loans, and they bought a bunch of other companies. They bought like KB Toys and Mattel and this distributor and all this other stuff, and they thought acquisitions was the way to grow a company instead of just making comic books. So they literally ran out of money buying shit that they didn't need, and then they couldn't make enough comic books anymore to get out of it, and then that was it. They were done basically, and now we just have the direct market.
It's kind of, I mean, that's kind of what they were doing, the VC model, or the model that it happened today. I mean, you have a lot, I mean, it doesn't have to deal with comic books, but you have like, Red Lobster and shit like that, where they're purchased by these large companies that have a portfolio of companies, and then they ruin the business.
We did a whole episode about how VCs destroyed Red Lobster because it's 2 different VC companies that did it. The first one bought Red Lobster and sold itself the land that all the Red Lobsters were sitting on, and then started having Red Lobster pay rent. Then the second one when they put Red Lobster back on the market, because now they just own the land and they didn't give a shit what happened. The second one was a seafood distributor who had an overabundance of shrimp. They bought Red Lobster, and they made Red Lobster stop competitive bidding all of their seafood product, only buy it from them, and then they made them sell the unlimited shrimp year-round, and it became a loss leader for them. But not a good one. Like, loss leaders typically are supposed to lead to more sales. It was a bad one for them because it just led to people coming in and buying it. Because, hey, $15 for all the shrimp I can fucking eat. I can eat a shit ton of shrimp. And next thing you know, Red Lobster couldn't afford to sustain itself because it was paying rent it never had to pay before, and now it was buying expensive shrimp it didn't really want to buy.
Yeah, it's happening. I think the most recent one that I saw that people are complaining about is Jimmy John's.
Yeah, I saw the post the other day where the guy was like, he compared the two posts from a year before and then now, and he was like, It's still delicious, but there's obviously much less meat.
And there's like no meat. It's like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Which is wild and I always tell people, like, I love Chipotle. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
I'm going to call it a northern problem. In the South, we have Hispanic people. We don't have to do that, but okay. Go on.
Now, in Chipotle, it's, it's like the style where you go up and then they ask you what you want and then you watch them dish it in, right? Well, when I get a burrito bowl, which you tend to get more in a burrito bowl than if you just get a standard burrito, and if you order, I hate doing it. I've spent probably thousands of dollars doing it. I order DoorDash and Uber Eats because it'll be a Friday. We get drunk. I can't drive.
Yeah, let's make it
So what's
happen.
the point of me calling, right? I just pull out my app. It's double the price. I pay all this other service fees, whatever. And I paid $20 for that burrito bowl, and it was what I got was like $4. Like some guy gave me just 2 spoonfuls of rice, 3 pieces of chicken, and a little bit of cheese. When I asked for double chicken, which I paid for, extra cheese, I don't get any of it. And then that's when I obviously get fucking pissed, especially because I'm drinking.
Yeah.
But Chipotle is one of those ones where you have to go in. Like, I have to go into the store because as they're making it, I'm like, oh, I need more of that.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you ever come up to the Northeast or you ever go to a Chipotle and you want double meat, you have to wait. Okay, so this is the secret that I learned from probably TikTok. But they put the meat on, and then you say to them, you know what? Give me double. And then they have to go back because if you ask for double right off the bat,
I'm just gonna make you a giant scoop.
It's either like normal plus a little bit, or it's just one. So I always say, I'll take chicken. I wait for them to scoop it on. I'm like, you know what? Make it double, and that's when you get the max amount of meat. When you're at Chipotle.
I thought you were gonna do the old Chipotle DoorDash hack. I don't know if it went viral, where basically if you order everything on the side, they would fill those containers, and Chipotle figured out that they were like, the container held triple what the spoon would dish out, so they were like losing money on everything on the side orders. And then it took them like 2 years to figure it out because they were like, what's going on our numbers? It took them a long time, and now it's extra to put everything on the side.
See, dude, that's just crazy to me. I mean, the fact that I already have to spend, I think a burrito bowl going into the store is still like $13. The fact that I have to spend $13 for a burrito bowl is fucking absurd to begin with.
And then let alone taking it home, like getting the DoorDash version where it's $28. Yeah, I don't even...
But the world we live in today is just, it's not sustainable. Like
it's gonna hit. We're hitting some sort of like inflection point. I feel like, without being, I'm not a doomsdayer, but we are hitting some sort of weird inflection point where things are they're gonna have to change. I will say though, innovation does have this weird way of making things different. DoorDash and Uber Eats and all those guys, they completely devastated pizza delivery market. Because forever there were only really like 3 true delivery options. It was pizza, Italian, or Chinese, and basically no one else delivered. They would to-go you, but they wouldn't deliver. And it was DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that created the idea that like you no longer just have to settle for one of these 3 things. And the result of that was like the pizza chain places, if you look at like their stock price and you look at like their costs have now gone way up. Their stock prices have taken massive hits, and it's because they were no longer the only option, and they had to then deliver quality to keep customers. And that's a hard thing to do in chains when they've spent like 3 decades just not giving a fuck. And having worked as a delivery driver at all those different places at different times in my life, most of them didn't give a fuck. I will say Papa John's impressed me with actually their district managers would actually come through and like kind of push people. But still, it's a bunch of stoner 20-year-olds working the store at the end of the day. And like the end result is you're going to get whatever you get. And sometimes you got really good quality, but sometimes you didn't. And every time you didn't get it, you were less likely to come back. And the second that it was even an option to pay $15 extra to get Chipotle, it was a better option than being like, yeah, but I don't want to pay $20 to get that shitty fucking pizza again. And that's really what drove all of it. That's what drove all of it. And it changed all of this. So we're at some sort of weird inflection point with all this, like, eating out. I know we've gone on some weird tangents here, but it is coming. There's going to be something that changes all of it again, where then we go, oh, this is the new way to do it, and it is more affordable again. Something has to change, because you're right. We're not going to keep spending $40 on Chipotle bowls, especially because they're terrible.
It's crazy. And to begin with, to make this back to the nerd side of things, I did recently, last December, I'm almost at a year, I got back into Pokemon.
Congratulations. I don't know very much about Pokemon, but I do know it is highly addictive.
It is. I'm a degenerate gambler, and Pokemon is basically taking your childhood and gambling and just crush. I didn't realize how much of a gamble opening a pack of Pokemon is.
All of the card buying is gambling. I worked at a card shop for a while, a sports card store, and I mean, there are some packs of cards, 6 cards in a pack, 4 cards in a pack. The pack is $300, $400.
Yep.
But if you get one of those one of ones or of 5 or of 10, suddenly you're holding $1,000 card, a $2,000 card. Then you send it off to PSA and it comes back at 10, and now it's $20,000 for no reason. And you're like, it's crazy, dude. The card game, there's a lot of money that comes and goes in the card game.
Well, one thing's for sure, Pokemon is not going to be hurting for money anytime soon,
no.
Because anything they sell sells instantly. But I will tell you, it's infectious.
Yeah.
So I started in December, and especially when you're pushing 40, I feel like there's something in us that wants to still go back and unlock our inner child. I'm always still going to act how I act, and I feel like I'm always going to be a little kid at heart, right? I still game. I still, I collect Pokemon. I still do nerdy things. But it started with my brother. I went to, I think it was Easter, or no, maybe it was Christmas time. And I just started collecting, and my brother was like, we were talking, I'm like, yeah, I started collecting Pokemon. He's like, oh, dude, I've been thinking about that. What's that like? And then before you know it, he's actually heavily into sports cards now. Like he is like, he's really deep into the whole of sports cards.
Rush gamble. So we were doing at that sports card. We had a trading. We had some sort of national sports card day or whatever. We're giving away packs. My brother-in-law, I've got 2 nephews and a niece that are right at that 6 to 12-year-old range, so they're loving it. My brother-in-law brings the kids up. They're having a blast. He wins a drawing where he gets a little box of cards, and so there's like 4 packs in the box. He opens one of them. It's baseball. He gets a Shohei Ohtani that's numbered to 80 or something like that, and the color is blue, matching his Dodgers uniform, and so
it's a color
match is a big deal. He's looking at it, and it's random how they come out of the pack. Sometimes they just come out of the packs damaged. This one comes out smooth, clean, corners perfect. The guy that I have at the store who would like tell us if cards were good enough to grade or not, he's looking at it and he's like, "This is a 10 all day, 10 all day." Send it off, comes back at 10. Out of a free box of cards, he wound up getting like a $700 card. I don't know if he sold it yet or not, but like,
wow,
yeah,
and it's probably worth more now.
Oh, probably. Or like that exploded. Then all 3 of them are like, him and his 2 sons are like, "Hey, what's going on in the card game? What's happening these days?" And now they don't buy all the time. They're working some self control, but they're always peeking over the fence because they're like, "Hey, what's going on over there?"
Once you start, dude, it's hard to stop. I got into Pokemon at the wrong time because it was like the hardest time. Like it was just impossible then to get cards, and I was just buying whatever I could. Now I have a pretty hefty collection, but I also bought it because I wanted to start selling. So I wanted to like sell and also buy because I like the rush of opening and things like that. So I wanted to kind of do both, right? Where I'm not gonna I do have an unopened collection that I'm saving.
Investing.
Pokemon.
That's what people say. They're investing.
It's degeneracism is what it is, if that's a word. But I have it's just Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes, which have a special stamped promotional card in the box, right? So I keep those because those just skyrocketed value. I bought every single one at market value, or every single one at for $60, right? I didn't pay any more. Like two of them are worth over 400 right now. So you tell me any investment you're going to make where you spend 60 and it's going to 8x in 3 months. That doesn't happen often.
That's sort of the problem, right? Is the cards are so addictive because of that. Like when you hit on those things and they explode like that, yeah, you're going to do it forever now. Like,
oh yeah. You can't. And then of course, I got my brother into it, and then a guy at work he used to work at GameStop with me. They recruited him, and I told him I started doing it. He's like, oh, well, I'm gonna start doing it. Oh, he's worse than me and my brother. He's way in. He's trying to do master sets where he collects every card of a set. And then he got some of our, we have insurance agents that work with us. He got some of the people that he knew really well and some of his friends into it. So it was all I did was start collecting Pokemon, and I basically ruined 20 other people's lives without even realizing it.
It's like, this is what you did.
Just from telling people, I started opening Pokemon, and it's cool. And I feel bad, but it's also hilarious because at least I know other people are in my misery when you open a pack and you get fucking dog shit.
Dude, I mean, it's all random, but it's gambling with fun. It's better odds than the lottery.
Plus, you have something if a lot of times, right? If you're gambling on roulette, you could walk away with zero. You open Pokemon, you have something tangible that you could theoretically see.
That's a good way
something to buy it.
Yeah,
maybe. Maybe in a couple years. Yeah. Who knows?
That's not terrible.
But let's talk about Jesus Christ, there's 46 minutes. I don't even know where I went. How did you get started as a writer, and what drove you specifically towards comics?
Yeah, this will make no sense out loud. Out of high school, I was a National Hispanic Merit Scholar, and I thought I wanted to build rocket ships. So I was going to go to college for aerospace engineering.
It's cool.
The top two programs in the country were Ohio State and Alabama. University of Alabama was number 2. Because I was a National Hispanic Merit Scholar, not just a National Merit Scholar, Alabama called after I declined the initial scholarship and said, "Hey, are you sure you don't want to go here?" And I told them that I was about to accept an offer to go to Ohio State, and they said, "I said, you guys both offered me basically the same thing: full ride, housing, food, the whole bit. I'm going to go to the number 1 program instead of the number 2 program. It just makes sense, right? If you're going to do something, do it all the way." And Alabama said, "Let me see if we can sweeten this." And they came back and they said, "We have a technology grant that we can apply to your program, and we'll give you a laptop if you come." So I said, "Okay." So I went to Alabama. So I get to Alabama, free laptop. So I get to Alabama, get the laptop. I'm in the aerospace engineering stuff, and the head of the department teaches the intro class. And basically the first day he tells you 2 of you are going to work in aerospace engineering. The rest of you are going to work for Toyota designing aerodynamic cars. And I said, well, shit, that's not a good start. Okay.
Nope.
Then he started, as you learn about it and you learn about the industry, at this time only NASA is building these things. This is 2002. There are no private industries on the horizon. There is no other option. Yeah. You're going to go work for NASA if you do aerospace engineering. Or I guess Russia. I guess. Then you start finding out that it's a team of 60 people who design the cockpit and the handle and the joystick, and nothing is just done by a guy. There's not a Cory design. So then I was so I got to work with engineers, and I got to be part of a team. And I started looking around my class and realizing that these would be the people that I would be working with forever. I hated every one of them. I hated everyone. I'm not ashamed to say it. They were terrible people, all of them. They took it so serious that there was no joy in them. Um, they were people on a mission. I was somebody on a journey. And like I would
Yeah.
show up. I was a freshman in college. Like I partied. I had a good time. I would do stuff. I'd show up and I'd be like, "Hey, did anybody do the reading?" And they were all like, "Yeah, of course we did the reading." And I was like, "What was it over?" And they were like, "I'm not going to tell you. There might be a test." And they're thinking that like if they graduate ahead of me, that they're going to get the job. And I was like, I don't want to work with people who are like this. Like these are just awful people. The idea that
Pretentious.
there was no access to the industry. There was no good people. Like it was just like this isn't what I want to do. So then I was like, if this isn't what I want to do, what do I want to do? And the thing that I was doing at the time was writing just ideas and stories and stuff out of boredom. Like I would have these big ideas or something, and I would start taking notes about my idea. Sometimes in the middle of class, I'd write like 2 pages of an idea down. And so about a third of the way through my freshman year, I was like, I think I'm going to be a writer. And I was like, well, that's a pretty shitty profession. Cool.
Definitely not going to make a lot of money there.
So like I call home, I tell my mom that, and she's like, no, not gonna happen, bro. And I was like, no, seriously, that's what I want to do. And she's like, don't come home, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, seriously, I'm thinking about doing it. And she's like, here's the deal: finish your freshman year. Let's talk about it over the summer. All right, cool. We get towards the end of that semester, and I know at that point that I'm not going to stay in aerospace engineering. It doesn't affect my scholarship at all. I'm just going to move around. Maybe I'll look for another major. So I go tell the head of the department, because he's my teacher. I need him to sign off because I'm going to change my schedule between semesters. And he's like, so what do you want to do? And I told him, I said, I think I want to be a writer. And he goes, I've never had someone stand in this room and say that to me. And I was like, well, like, ta-da, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Jazz hands.
Yeah, and he was like, he goes, listen, if that's what you want to do, then just do it. Don't quit. Don't go do that. He said, because you're giving up on something that a lot of people want a spot for. And if you don't want it, that's fine. It doesn't affect anything if you don't want it. But if you don't want it, make sure you do this other thing. I was like, all right, yeah, that's fair. And so that's sort of the impetus of it all. I gave up a lucrative career working for the government. No, that's not true. Like I probably would have worked for Toyota designing headlights. But it does mean that like that was from there. I took whatever kind of jobs I could have where there was like stability so that I could do the other stuff. And over time that just got me to the point. And then like I realized about 8 years ago that like, man, I think it would be really cool to write comic books. I've been trying to write books and novels, and I always kind of struggled to get it there. And then I'm going through the process trying to find agents and all kinds of stuff. It's like once you write a book, there's like 50 more steps to get it published. And I was like, this sucks. And so but then if you just want to make comic books, you can just make them. And I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. So about 8 years ago, I kind of got into it, started learning the process, and it is a brutal process to learn because there's so much technical to it. File sizes and all sorts of, getting the saturations and colors, and you're working with different people from different countries. There's language barriers, and then they don't use the same formatting you use. And then there's a million things that go wrong as you make a comic book. And you learn it all by making comic books. Because there's no university, there's no notes, there's no help, especially 8 years ago. Now there's kind of groups everywhere and all that. And I'm in a lot of creator groups where we do help each other out. But in the beginning, you're just learning on your own, figuring this shit out. And it was its own Hard Knocks University kind of thing where you got to figure it out and learn it. And it got me way into it. And then when COVID hit is when I started selling my first comic book.
So you have the Department
The Department of Metahuman Affairs.
Right? And then Another Day in the Office.
That's right. Another Day at the Office is the one that came first, and it's a comedy about a cop in a city full of superheroes. And it came out of the idea of like, when you feel useless and you feel like you don't know what you're doing and you have no concept of how to make it work the way you want to make it work, that's this guy's whole life. He's a cop in a city where literally people can fly and shoot laser beams and control insects and build rocket ships and do all kinds of crazy shit with their mind. And he's like, you're under arrest. And that's it. That's his gig. He's a cop. He's a real cop in a city full of superheroes. And so it's a comedy that it spawned out of that feeling of uselessness about like, how the hell do you make this work? Like, how do I do this? And there were two challenges that were before me: learning how to make comic books, and then there was a guy who offered me an opportunity. He would buy one of my scripts from me, but only if it was a one-issue story. And in comic books, when you create, you always have this idea that you're going to make these like 100-issue epics like Walking Dead. Like, oh, I'm going to introduce these cool, badass things. It's going to go forever. And they're going to go to space. And they're going to do this. And they're going to do that. And he's like, no, I just want one issue because if it sucks, we're never going to come back to it. And then it's like, well, you can't do anything in one issue. So it came back to that feeling of like, what the fuck do you do with one issue? And so the first issue of Another Day at the Office is born, where this cop just goes through one day in his city full of superheroes, and you get kind of a glimpse at how much it sucks to be a cop in a city full of superheroes. And that sort of comedy in a comic book is sort of the unique space. And it's found a little bit of love for that. And that's that first one. And that spawned, it's in the same universe, that spawned DMA. Department of Meta-Human Affairs is this action adventure book that takes itself much more seriously than Another Day at the Office does. But in that same world of superheroes and all that.
That's cool though, because that's like a different spin. It's like a different view. Because like when you think of superheroes, you don't really think of the cops,
right?
You don't really think about what they're doing and the fact that they're basically useless to a certain degree. And that's a cool spin. I mean, it's almost like The Boys, right?
Right.
Where The Boys had a different spin. It's like, what if heroes were inertly bad?
Yeah, because I always think about that too. Like, if you had all this power, wouldn't there be some element of you who would be like, fuck would I do that? Like, I would rob a bank. I always say if I had powers, I would be a bad guy. I would be a villain. Now, I don't think I'm a bad person even, but if I was bulletproof and could fly and could do all these other crazy things, why the fuck would I just be like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not going to rob that bank. No, you're right. It would be completely easy for me to do it, and none of you could stop me, and there'd be nothing you could do about it. But I'm totally not going to. I'm not going to do it. You're right.
I mean, look, one of my favorite archetype of a lot of books and comics and things is the anti-hero. I feel like there's just this special thing about someone that's flawed, or like I read back in the day. I told you I was into World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
There's a book about Arthas, right, the Lich King, and how he becomes the Lich King, and he wasn't a bad guy to start. But at the end, what he did, he was a bad guy. And it's the same thing with, there's another anti-hero book about Darth Bane.
Yeah.
And that was a 3-book series, fucking amazing.
I'm not an expert in Star Wars, but I'm pretty sure all the Darths are kind of the same anti-hero concept where, like, they start trying to do good, and then they find it's easier to do some bad. And then by the end of it, they're just like, yeah, kill the younglings. That's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, well, Darth Bane was he was a miner on a mining planet, and then he was
Jeffrey
found,
Epstein
and then
there, and
he had an Epstein issue, and then before you know it,
E, not an O. Oh.
but he created the rule of one. There can only be one. He slaughtered every Sith, and
that's just job security.
There can only be.
That's not evil. That's just job security.
He was smart, right? You have one person with the power and one that craves it. He created that, which they eventually went away from. But and he was also looking for eternal life. And then you talk about Darth Plagueis a lot in that.
Yeah.
And Darth Plagueis has a book that was really good that gives you like an insight. If you if you're not a Star Wars fan, one, you should watch the Star Wars movies 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 6, because that like the credence of the movies just makes so much more sense.
Honestly,
when Darth
you
Vader
just
dies,
watch 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, and 3 are actually very good in this context if you watch them this way. Also, if you read Darth Plagueis,
terrible out of them when you play them in that context.
No, they don't take out Jar Jar Binks, which is quite unfortunate. But the storyline itself is much better when you do it that way. And also Darth Plagueis, if you read that book, it's a one-shotter. Really good because it gives you a background of the Senate and all the things that he was orchestrating behind the scenes, which was
because he was really, like, they kind of touch it in the movies, but by the end, you're just like, oh, he's Emperor Palpatine now. Like,
yeah, but he was searching for eternal life, and if you like, the book's really good. It gives you like a really good view, and that's what I like. Because like a hero is always going to be a hero. They're always trying to save people and save the world and blah blah blah. You don't always know what the anti-hero is. They're like a wild card, right? Because
definitely, there's like Punisher is meant to be. He's like the ultimate anti-hero, and he's meant to be a fable of like when you take it too far. Like everything
Yeah.
about him is justified to an extent, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe don't put a grenade in that guy's mouth just because he deals drugs on the corner. Like maybe just shoot him in the knee and tell him to stop. Like you don't have to be the Punisher to everybody, but he is. But then also some of that sometimes gets lost in the pop culture and the zeitgeist, and now people are just like, it's cool when he shotguns that guy, and you're like, ah. And then you see cops wearing the Punisher logo on stuff, and you're like, no, that is like the opposite of what they wanted you to get from that story. But
Yeah, like you should not be doing that.
yeah, that's not ideal once you really get into what Punisher is and what he's doing. But it is like that's sort of the anti-hero thing, and pop culture has a long, deep, dark love affair with the anti-hero. Wolverine's a great one. Wolverine's a perfect anti-hero in that regard.
Wolverine is awesome.
Yeah.
Logan was a really good adaptation. Like, you know, the movies are always, I'm sure we could have a whole fucking 2-hour long conversation on that. But let's end with a couple things, which I didn't get to like 95% of the shit I wanted to talk to you about, especially your comics, because you have some cool spins on stuff. I have to ask a couple of the just standard questions for a comic book guy. Top 3 comics of all time. Hit me.
Oh, shit. So one of mine,
or it could be your top 3
yeah,
comics.
I'm gonna do mine.
It doesn't necessarily have to be
everybody else. My number 1 of all time is, it's not going to be anyone else's. It probably is not even going to be on anybody else's list. It's Justice League of America: Obsidian Age. It's this crazy time travel story. It involves multiple versions of the Justice League. The first Justice League goes back in time to find Atlantis. They see on the television as they're going back in time that they reappear back in the present dead. And Batman's like, this doesn't seem right. So he builds a whole second team on the fly as he's going back in time. And now there's 2 Justice Leagues, time travel capers. It's like the ultimate comic book-ish story. And it's just a lot of fun. But it's just full of like this crazy stuff. There's a league of like champions back in time that the Justice League fights to and loses to because they're just more badass. Like, because the idea of like ancient times were just tougher. So these hero characters are just tougher than like the modern Justice League. It's just cool. It's got a lot of cool moments in it. Another awesome storyline. Let's see. I think the whole run of Chris Claremont, like that 80s X-Men, it's about 9 years where he just kind of builds them up. When he took that book over, X-Men used to make just enough money that they would reprint the old stories, number it more. They were not making new X-Men. They started making new X-Men for like a year before he came on, and it sucked. People weren't buying it. He takes over. It's not even a momentous thing. It's not a big deal. He just starts writing it on one issue, and next thing you know, over the next 3 years, he turns it into the number 1 comic book in the country. He builds it into this thing, and it's all about their interpersonal relationships. Yeah, they're superheroes, and yeah, they do crazy stuff. But what he changes in superhero comic books is he makes them real people. You suddenly learn about their personal lives and their interactions and stuff like that. And he creates a lot of just weird characters. Longshot and Dazzler, Kitty Pryde. Like, just a lot of interesting people that he creates and is sort of the father of. Then the third one is All-Star Superman. It is the coolest adaptation of Superman. Superman is
I have that
impossible character. People will either say he's the lamest character ever and they never want to write him, or they say like, oh, like there's one perfect Superman story. Superman, All-Star Superman just does this thing where it shows you Superman can go anywhere and be anything. And when you read that book, you're going to care about Superman by the end of it, even if you don't want to. And you're gonna be like amazed at what he does in the book, and then you're gonna realize you can do anything with Superman. Like, Superman can be anything. And so when people say that he's impossible to write, you have them read that, and then you go, okay, now just think bigger.
I would agree with you there. Superman is my favorite superhero, and that adaptation was really, really good. I have the hardback copy in one of my 3 boxes over there. And let's end with this. Favorite hero or villain?
Oh man, I've got a special place in my heart for the X-Men Age of Apocalypse. So that little lineup, the design of those characters, the way they all look, and then from that group, I would say Blink or Sabretooth would be my favorite from that lineup. But that's that's my guilty pleasure of comic books, of the X-Men. My version of the X-Men is Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, I think my favorite comic era or comic show era was X-Men, the original, and it was that story arc with Mr. Sinister and Morph,
Yeah.
and how he turned them like hands down. And I know that it's not necessarily, it's like an early adaptation, but it was so good.
Yeah,
it's and I remember it as a kid.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I still remember it.
Did you watch it?
So it had an impact.
97 stuff?
I didn't get to that yet. It's on the list. I definitely want to check it out.
It's so good. Magneto gives a speech in like the third or fourth episode where you're like, this is what X-Men should always be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, comic shows just, they're not like they were in the mid 90s, early 2000s. It's just Batman Forever. I'm sorry, Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond
just some of those classics.
So
dude.
dope. I just rewatched the one the other day where he's in like that modern, that futuristic Justice League. It's like, it's just so cool. It just is.
Nothing like it today, man. Nothing like it. But look, it was awesome, dude. I'm sure we could probably go 3 hours. Hit me with all of your, where can everyone find all of your content?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a Ko-fi store up, Ko-fi.com Nerd Thug Radio. And right there, they can buy t-shirts for the show, or they can buy trades of Another Day at the Office. All 4 issues that have ever been made for it are all collected in one book. And then issues 1 through 3 of DMA are collected in one book. And that's the first complete story. And DMA, one thing we didn't say is I'm an old school comic guy, so I love the old backup stories. So every issue of DMA has a 22-page story and then an 8-page backup, and the trade includes those backup stories as well. So there's
awesome. Yeah, I always love the side stories. Always love.
Oh yeah, you got to do fun stuff. Like, it's not enough just to save the world. You got to also have this weird thing that happens on the other day.
Plus, it helps the background. You know, it always adds layering to the story. I agree. Look, man, it was a pleasure having you on. My podcast, you can find anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's freaking everywhere. If you want to watch it on YouTube, the episode will be up on YouTube as well. Drink Clock Pod on all socials, pretty much everywhere. And, we'll have this up. We'll have this up probably next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome. Congratulations on your success, man.
You too, brother. It was a pleasure having you on, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
On a stormy night where legends unfold, there's a podcast that's breaking the mold. Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's fly. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner pub to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more. We're ready for more. With a mix of folklore and rebel cheer, we'll guide you through tales of whiskey and beer. From Irish shores to lands afar, grab your friends, it's time to raise the bar.